Hey y'all, it's me. If you watched the mixing video, then you'll know that we're not going to work anymore up here for now. We're going to work on the mountains down below. If you haven't watched the mixing video, you might want to go back and just check that out, get your color sources, and let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put in this little mountain right here, the one that we mixed all the purples into. It's just a purpley pink. I don't know the actual color of these things, guys, and I could research it and just wow you with my knowledge, but I don't want to do that. So it's a purpley pink. We're going with that. Let's just get us a little flat brush and get some paint on there. Let me see, is that the color? All right, now if you notice, our sunshine is basically on the same level as that mountain. So let's follow our sunshine over and just and rarely have I ever worried about making the mountains. I give them the general shape that they are in the photograph, especially if it's somewhere that I want people to actually be able to recognize the location. But for this one, I'm not really worried about that. We're going to go to the just step down color a little bit. Let's put that down here. Now, up here at the top of these mountains, you know, of course the sun, even if the sun's not actually hitting it, the ambient light from the sun is going to be coming down on it. So we can just darken as we go down. Don't forget, if you're going to do the gallery wrap, don't forget to carry your color on around. And along the outside edge over here, be certain to give your mountains some kind of a shape as well. Don't just kind of make a straight line. You want them to have some depth, and you want to make it look like the mountains are actually continuing on. All right. Now, because we're working in layers, we are going to finish each mountain before we put a mountain in front of it. And if you remember when we talked the first day about, you know, the colors being kind of opaque or kind of translucent, if you want them to be more opaque, chances are you're going to have to put some color on there. And oops, and I'm going to bump you around. And let that color dry a bit and come back and put another layer on it. I'm not doing that just for the sake of time. If I were putting this in a gallery somewhere, chances are pretty good that I would do that. Now, where are my little pouncing brushes? I do not see them right now. I will have to come back to them later. All right. Oh, nope, I see them. Hold on a minute. I'm going to have to move a table. I am so closed in right here, trying to make everything work that it's a little bit claustrophobic. Okay. All right. Let me move you. There we go. There we go. All right, I have my legs back around where they need to be. And of course, we're just going to blend these colors. Blend, 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 blend. My painting style is extraordinarily boring. It just is. But it works for me. Hopefully it's working for some of you out there too. All right, and you have to just barely, barely, barely bump it if you don't want to pick the color back up and reveal more of the color from behind, okay? Now you can, knowing that your sun source is over here, you can actually add, you know, a little bit more depth in these areas, and this is where I would suggest you come back in later and worry about it. When they're dry, by adding just a little shadow here and there where there would be shadow if the sun were hitting it. Now that, like I said, the sun is not hitting this, but the ambient light is. Okay, that gives it just a whisper of shadowing. And you can see up here in the top, those mountains are too far away for there to be a tree line. So I'm going to get rid of the fuzzies up at the top. Now we will have fuzzies at the top of the mountains that are closer to us, but these mountains, this mountain, is way too far away for there to be any actually perceptible trees. All we're going to see is just the outline of that mountain. The cattle are distracting me. They're right outside my window. Let me see if I can very carefully. You see them over there? You let them in that field yesterday. So they're just outside the dog lot, and they're helping themselves to some green grass right there. All right. And they're making a lot of noise. I don't know how you make a lot of noise eating grass, but they're doing that. It's hard to see around the edge of one of these things. If I'm working on it and I can move the canvas, I usually just move my body around to where I can see the side. But since I can't do that right now, we're guessing. All right. I'm just softening this a little bit with this smaller brush. All right, now, let me move you back down. We don't need to see the upper part of that sky today. We need to see down here. All right, now the next mountain range, this one, and you'll see down in here some wispy fog down in the valley. We'll put that in later. But right now, let's put that mountain in. And you can see, we talked about it when we were mixing color, how as you come over closer to that sun, our mountain turns more and more pink, and then purpley, and then more blue. And so anyway, let's go there. All right. Now, we're going to use that mid-range blue that we mixed. And starting right here on the edge of this And just give us a skiffy line, basically where that's at. All right, and try to follow your little shape of your mountain. Or as close to it as you want to. All right, I want to make that a little taller, because if you can see, it basically goes up, hits about where the sun, yeah, I just wanted a little bit taller. Got that little knobby right there, and then it just starts coming back down gently with some little bumpies here and there. Pretty much flattens out, you can see, as it comes on down. And I don't want to go on over in there with this dark color. As a matter of fact, that color, let's mix in some of this. You can see how that radiates up into that line quite a bit. And I'm still lower than I want to be, so I think that that line was just and lots of that purple color down in here. And it gets lighter. It looks like it's almost just underneath of the sun over there, the way that one travels. And let's kind of keep that nice, and we can bring it on over, but it's not going to be seen, but we'll just still bring that color on over. You can see it just kind of stays that color like it's hitting through some little passes in the mountain. And then you pick up that dark color again. And now we don't have to be too careful with it at this point. But we are going to bring it on down below where we had that little line showing. Bring it on around. Let's pick up some more of those purpley colors. Just bring them on down in there. And if you can see, we start picking up some whites. Actually, I made a mistake right there. We start picking up some blue whites. So, pull the blue in there. All right. And we're going down below where we need to. Always do that. Always, always, always take your color down lower or higher than you think you're going to need it, because you can cut. That is the nice thing about oil paints, is you'll cover over it. You can cover over it. You don't have to worry about, you know, like in watercolors, leaving areas white or clear or whatever, because oils are opaque and you can fix what you need to fix. I need that. I need to be able to fix things. Watercolors are pretty much unforgiving, and that's one of the problems. I just have too many issues to work with watercolors. Those of you that do, I admire you. Okay, now you don't want to rub so hard that you're taking out all your paint. Let's leave some paint on there. Now, remember, we're still far enough away in this photograph that we're not going to see the distinction in the tree lines. So let's take a small little whisper brush and fix the edge of our mountain before we start blending. If you see just a teeny tiny, what looks like it could be a tree, at this point, at this distance, I'd say just leave it. But you want it to be fairly smooth. You don't want any big definites. Let me see if I can hold that up. So you can see just a little bit of what would be considered maybe a tree. But I don't want it to be like, you know, really, really, really super obvious. Because it's still, I want this mountain to still look like it's a very, very long distance away. Okay. Now, if you're coming back with the same paintbrush, be certain that you're wiping off the paint so you're not carrying this dark color with you. Probably would have been better to have started out. Well, I know it would have been better to have started over here. I just had a little brain fart. My mom was so old-fashioned, bless her heart, and so precious that anything like that word that I just used, she said, "That's a swear word. Don't use that word." Oh, for me, I just think a word's a word. When you raise children that are military, Chelsea being paramedic, the words that they were in constant contact with just became part of their vocabulary. And so, you know, at some point you stop trying to correct people because of their words and just leave it alone. It's just a word. All right. But you see what I'm doing along through there. can, well, now I carried the light color right here, and that's got to be Hugh down there. He's doing something. It's not those cows being that loud, I'm certain. I have this phone so close to me that you can hear me swallow and breathe and all that sort of thing. And when I listen to these videos, I think, oh, that's annoying. Well, I'm sorry. I don't know how to not breathe or swallow. So y'all have to just be patient with me. Now you can see what I'm doing around the corner. You see, it's just very simple. It doesn't have to be, it's not going to be as detailed as the front by a long shot. So, all right, let me sit you back down and position you so you can see the whole canvas. All right, let's get us, that one's kind of stiff feeling. Let's get us a soft little brush. And let's start over here where we have lighter paint. My paint's drying really fast on me today. I've had it mixed on my palette sitting here for a couple of hours because I spoke with my brother for a little while and I didn't get started with this painting video as soon as I had my colors mixed. But so it's just a little bit stiffer than I like for it to be when I'm painting. If you do need to walk away from your colors, and I should have done that, if you do need to walk away from your colors after you've got them mixed, put another piece of parchment paper over top and then maybe a damp towel over top of the piece of parchment paper. And that way it will stay nice and damp for you. And sometimes when you can see colors that are not blending out are leaving, a darker space or a lighter space here and there, just step back and look at it and think, okay, well, does that look natural? Because sometimes you have just like these little happy coincidences where they'll leave color or take color, or the color will actually end up working in the space that it's at to either make it like a shadow effect or something of that nature. And that's a good thing. Now, if I were going to work on this a second day to put some to color over the, you're gonna have to, I'm sorry. I get scattered when I'm trying to do two things at once. But anyway, if I were going to paint on this another day, I probably would have just painted the entire mountain this dark color, and then I would have added these highlights the next day, and that way my paint would have not been, you couldn't have seen the canvas through the paint itself. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, there have been times when I've used, especially on, and I could have done that on this. I didn't have any black gesso. But if you're going to work on a sunset or something that typically is just a dark painting to begin with, like a sunset, or a wooded scene or something of that nature, it's a good idea to even consider putting black gesso on your canvas if you're going to prime it. Now, I don't think most canvases now have a primer on them already, so it's not something that's a necessity, something you can do. But just keep that in mind, because that would have done away with a whole lot of this little bit of, see where you can see the light color coming through on this mountain. And like I said the other day, if I were putting this in a gallery, I would definitely fix that before I put it in the gown. There would have been stages that I would have painted, put my paint on, let it dry, the next day reapplied paint to that same area. But for this purpose, I'm not going to do that. So let's do this little blob right here, and it's going to be kind of a cross between the darkest color we mixed this morning and the next darkest color. So let me clean up my little palette knife. So just all you want to do is just to lighten up your darkest color just a little bit. And we'll put him in there. All right. And you can use one of the paintbrushes, one of the flat paintbrushes you used earlier for this. Now let's see. Just bring him down from about right there. And you can see there's other little mountain ranges going along through there, but because we're going to have that fog down in there, we're not going to want to add those and then add fog and add. We'll do those as we do the fog. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. I hear the dogs. Either Aiden is here or Aaron is here. All right, there again, on the edge, you can see where that brightens up. That's Bela. Bela starts baying at the moon or something. A crazy dog. Yeah, my painting videos will never be without doggy sounds or goose sounds or some kind of cue sound or whatever. But let's pick up some of that pink and do the same thing over here that we did up there. Because you can see that mountain, that little mountain has a lot of that pink in it. And bring it down pretty significantly because you don't want to have to worry about after you've gotten the color on there that it's not down as low or up as high as you want it. Always just put, like I said, I repeat myself a lot, but just want to make sure that you heard it the first time.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Oh, you're fine, baby. You're fine. You had a good time?
I did. I'm sorry. I'm exhausted.
Are you?
It's quits for me for the rest of the day.
Okay. Aiden had a good time. He and Chelsea went to the Geek Expo. And,
I'll see you around.
all right, sweetheart. I'll see you in a bit.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're good. No worries. A grandchild can't interrupt us, can they? All right. Now, let's take this little tiny brush. Now this time, we can begin to let trees start to materialize. So, and actually, I think I do want to use some of that darker color as I get on lower, right? Just in that one little section. Because it's kind of like it's in shadow maybe. trusty towel out again and blot it just a little bit. And now maybe the next time we do a painting, we may go ahead and do all the steps that I would typically do. If y'all are interested in going into that detail. I didn't really know how long, because like I said, it's just been so long. I didn't know how long it was going to take me with the paintings, so I didn't want to just overwhelm. And I'm thinking, 3 or 4 videos to finish a painting. I want to keep it there, or 4 at least, but it looks like this one's going to be probably 5. So, and I'm not going to rule out 6. Just won't. But we'll see. Okay. All right, this brush that I'm using is just a little bit stiffer than I want it to be. So let's go back over here and find a softer brush. I want a small brush, but I want one that's kind of, maybe that one. This one, you can see that I've trimmed up on that one in times past. Get rid of some of that white. It's funny how much I have forgotten. But at least I think occasionally I have a little blip of, oh, I remember I should have done such and such first. But then, it's usually too late to go back and do the such and such first. But, oh well. Maybe next time I'll remember the such and such before I go any further. All right, I'll come back to that because I can tell that I'm going to want that to be darker. So let's go ahead and blend this darker color down in here. I hear a chicken. Sounds like she's having her feathers ruffled out there. She wasn't very happy with somebody. All right. Let's go back over here and take a little bit of that darker color. Okay, that all down in there is really going to be hidden anyway, but let's put a little bit of color. saw what I did. I picked up the lighter color of that first mountain instead of the medium color I had mixed. So let's go back over it a little bit. Okay. Now I do want to blot that just a teeny tiny little bit since I added color. One thing I talked to Hugh about the other day, I said, you know, I'm finding it difficult to remember that I can't take this to the degree that I would have if I'd have been putting something in a gallery. And so that's the one thing I've got to remember with y'all with these videos. If I spent that much time on one, I'm sure that just the amount of time I'm spending on it's probably annoying the pee-jubers out of a lot of you, and I apologize. Part of it's because I have forgotten some things. I'm having to remind myself. And part of it's because I'm just that silly. Okay. I need to. But I do need to remember that this is a little video series that can't last, 30 hours. And I don't want that solid line right there. Let's work him out. Well, we'll leave that for now. I'll work on it again tomorrow or the next time we paint if that's something I decide to fix. I still haven't given myself the kind of line I need down through here. Did you hear that fly? I've got a fly in here. He's just annoying the pee-jubers out of me. And that's one of the issues with living on, well, we don't have that many cattle, but it's a few that we do have. Seem to be a beacon for flies. And then the chickens, and the ducks, and the geese, and the dogs, and the cats contribute. All right. Somehow I'm just not getting the definite line that I'm wanting through there, so we'll just mess with it for another minute or so and then say she's good enough. All right, now these trees right here. Now if you can see right underneath these sunbeams, we're going to be painting in some actual tree color. I hope you can see that. But there's actual identifiable trees coming on down in there. Yeah, I've got a little paint. But for right now, we're just going to do that very dark color of gray and Payne's Gray and Raw Umber. It's just a solid dark Payne's Gray and Raw Umber. And then when we come back, we'll be painting these trees in over top of that. And they're going to be the orangey colors. And then coming down in here, we're going to have the trees actually that are showing up as trees. But we'll just give it that dark Payne's Gray and Raw Umber background. So I'm going to be using kind of a pointy little round brush, and because I do want there to be trees show up, kind of roll it as you go so that you're not ending up with a single pattern. And now you don't want it totally filled in all the way to the top, because you got to leave some room for leaves, okay? And these you can do as make it thicker and thicker as you come down, but toward the top leave it a little bit wispy. And you can actually even pick up a paintbrush that will give you, like this one is my paintbrush that I get the bristles out. But because it's so gnarly at the top, it's also a wonderful just to put hints of leaves. I have cut paintbrushes all to pieces over the years. I call it giving them a haircut. When my paintbrushes start not serving the purpose that they originally had served for me, I give them a haircut and I turn them into something that will work better for me. Now, looking at this painting, or this photograph, I'm going to bring that up just a little bit further right there, just as though I've got a line of trees that's really close to me. These we'll leave back there in the background. And you can get real adventurous here and actually put in just a fine little line to indicate maybe a limb here and there. I need Bela in here to catch that fly for me. He is so funny. That dog doesn't get in a hurry for much of anything. But every now and then, you will see him move suddenly and hear his jaws snap closed. You know, he's caught a fly. And it's actually pretty hysterical when he does that. He's a funny boy. Now you see how we get more and more opaque as we go down into the painting, because the trees will be thicker and thicker and thicker, or the leaves will be thicker and thicker and thicker. I have you where you can see what I'm doing, which is, I mean, you know what I'm doing. There's not a reason for you to have to watch this. It's quite interestingly boring. All right, now this is where it's going to look wonky over here because, like I said, you know, all those colors will be added in later. Right now, I just want to get the dark background color. And let me see. Actually, I don't think I'll go on up with those. I want to keep this dark down here, and I'm not going to go up with these trees that are going to be right against the skyline. We'll leave that for later, because those will be just a definite color. So let's just put some color on here and get rid of this white. You can see this big open space right there. See that? I'm not doing that because I have a feeling that that was probably for a power line. So I'm not gonna leave that big funny looking gap. It could be natural. It could be a natural gap, but chances are it was a power line. What did I do with my... Oh, there it is. I left it laying on my tray. All right. Random height, random thicknesses, some very, very wispy, some kind of pointy. The pointy ones, you can kind of imagine them being more of a, like an evergreen type tree. And let's just go up. I didn't take it over that way far enough. I'm gonna, because as you can see, and I do want that effect where the trees are kind of surrounding the sun, so I'm gonna have to bring it up to where I can give it a more gentle coax down. And we can define these trees, make them more wispy and everything when we work on them again next time. And we'll go back to the big fat brush and just get rid of this white. Let's get rid of this white. Move out of the way, light. All right, I'm struggling with this light. See, it's right in front of me. Now, one thing, when the painting dries, I'm not going to turn it up right now and try to get the black on the bottom. But if you're doing a gallery wrap effect where you're going to have paint going all the way down the sides like that, then you will want to, at some point this week when it's dried a little bit, just paint along the whole bottom with this dark blue and raw, or this dark Payne's gray and raw umber mixture. And that will actually finish off the bottom. We're not going to do anything different down there. All right. Now we'll take some trees up along the edge over here. And it looks like I've got some areas that I'm going to have to fix a little bit where I didn't get the paint coverage good enough. That's all right. We'll get it. Now around the edge, I will add some color for those trees when I carry them on around. But I'm not going to worry about them because the edge, remember, we're just keeping that just a barely there kind of thing. All right, now I'm not going to worry about coming up too high on that sky because the whole colors for these upper trees, for this upper line of trees, is going to be different. Going to be much more orangey. But we still want to, oops, don't go anywhere. Little painting. We still want to blot out some of this paint. Be careful not to pull it up into your sky. Oops, I'm just shaking you, I'm sorry. Oops, I took out a whole lot of paint right there, didn't I? Let's just put a little bit back. And then I'll blend it. Anywhere it's really, really thin, you can add just a little bit of paint. All right, let's get us a blender. And this time I'm going to use my big blender. If you don't have one of these, that's fine. Use your small blender or your trouncing brush, whatever you want to call it. I just don't want a big blob of paint down there on the bottom that I'm not seeing right now. And I don't want the paint to be thick anywhere. So where I've got thick paint, where my tree line's at, you can either take your blue paper towels and lift a little bit more of that paint off. I don't want to do that because it lifts too much paint off the bottom. So I will just blend a little bit of that paint out with a little stiff brush that you can see again. I've trimmed on it. It has had a haircut. If you paint long, those of you that have painted for years, I'm sure you have an arsenal of paintbrushes in your brush set that has had haircuts. If you don't, let me encourage you to make that happen, because if you have brushes in there that just are not serving the purpose that they once were, or that you never use because you know they're just weird, they just give you weird effects, and get out your scissors and start trimming on them. See what you can come up with. All right, well, I think that's as far as we're going to take it today. Next week we will okay, I got rid of the smeary color. Next painting session, we may not work on the bottom mountains again. We may just work on that sky. There's so much yet to do to that sky and the clouds and the highlights. And then when we get that sky finished, we will come back and start working again on this row of trees, and all of the trees coming down. They will be defined, and the row of trees going up into that sunset will not be, of course, this dark color. It will be the oranges, and it will just will just be lovely. And we'll work on this painting. Maybe a 7. Let me see. So next week, I don't know if we'll finish the clouds. We'll try to finish the sky, so that'll be session 4. We'll come back and we'll work on these mountains down here. We'll have the smoke or the fog in the mountain, and we'll be able to work on the tree line somewhat. That'll be session 5. I don't know. We might be able to do it in 5. Definitely in 6. We're going to say definitely in 6. All right, y'all. I hope that you were able to stick with me through this whole thing. It's grueling sometimes, I'm telling you. It's really grueling. Think about, would you like to paint a painting that size with me at some point? I'm going to say probably not. But what I have decided to do with this painting, just as a heads up, I'm going to sand it down. It hasn't been worked on for 7 years, and you can see I was just reaching the quarter way mark. There was lots and lots yet to do. And I've thought about just gessoing it out completely and doing something different. But I actually think I want to finish this painting, but I want to basically start over with it. Let me go down here. It's very dusty, but that's the photographs that I had taken. My mom was with me that day as of January, taking that photograph at Lake Juleska, and yeah, I still think I want it to be that painting. So instead of gessoing it out completely, though, I'll just sand it out enough to give me a smooth background and just start all over with the paint. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. All right, y'all. I love you. We'll continue on with the little painting next week, and you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.